Hey guys, welcome to Whispers of Charleston. My name is Savannah. Yeah, ignore the TV. I like to have the TV constantly running in my house. I'm currently rewatching Duck Dynasties right now. I'm on an Uncle Sidekick. Um, we're gonna do a little random thing called Charleston's Lost Architecture. We're still doing the houses on the street. We're still on Anson Street. I think I have like 7 or 8 homes left to do, and then I think we'll be on to. Actually, I don't know what the street we'll be on to next. Let me look. See, Anson Street. Then we'll be off to Archdale Street, and then I want to do a thing about Anson Borough property, or not property, neighborhood. So we're going to do the Charleston's Lost Architecture at the moment. This is by Catherine Saunders, Associate Director of the Preservation Historic Charleston Foundation. That is in the Charleston Tourism book. So those of you who watched the video, YouTube, big old book, huge, lots of pages, and I have it bookmarked. So yeah, those of you who are not watching the videos, go over to YouTube. You go to see my pretty face. So anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get started with Charleston has a long history as a national leader in the field of preservation. Some buildings have been deliberately protected through the efforts of individuals and preservation organizations. Others were preserved accidentally because of economic circumstances. Unfortunately, others have been lost to fires, wars, hurricanes, and earthquakes, while others were demolished in the name of progress. Below are illustrations of some of the more notable lost buildings of Charleston. And I will be doing an Instagram post about this, and I'll put some pictures of it on Facebook. So even more reason for y'all to come join the Facebook page and the group. And I saw a few more people are kind of trickling through the Instagram. So the more that y'all come join, the more stuff I'll post and make fun announcements and name out names and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the first house, and this will be a couple pages of homes. So it'll be a little bit of a longer episode that we normally do from the streets and the homes. So we're going to get started with the Pinckney Mansion. It was circa 1740s. The Pinckney Mansion, home to Charles and Eliza Lucas Pinckney, once fronted East Bay Street just north of the city market, with a commanding view of the Cooper River. It was destroyed in the fire of 1861. So the reason why Eliza Pinckney is so to this day and so important to Charleston economy and Charleston in general is she was the one who founded indigo. So she is the reason to why we have blue jeans and a lot of your blue dyes is because she decided to farm the indigo plant and process the dye and use the dyes for fabric and coloring, like clothes and stuff. So then we have the Gabriel Manigault House. It was 1782 to 1805. I think they did build another house. Or there's another Manigault house that's downtown that I will be doing. Gabriel Manigault was one of the Charleston's most noted architects. His house, sorry, I'm using my pirate thing to help me guide myself so I don't get distracted, as I am now. Gabriel Manigault was one of Charleston's most noted architects. His house at the southeast corner of Meeting and George Streets was demolished in the late 1920s, and some of its architectural details, like columns and window surroundings, were incorporated in the design of gas stations. 1930, built by Standard Oil at 801 Meeting Street, the reuse of the classical elements did not pacify the outrage of the citizenry over increasing demolitions around town to accommodate modern structures. As a result, the city of Charleston passed its pioneering zoning ordinance in 1931, creating the city's old and historic district. I think no, it's maybe not the Gabriel Manigault, but there's another Manigault house that's pretty big that I'm waiting for to open back up. That's a museum. So 25 East Battery was a mid-19th century. This Greek revival house on East Battery was heavily shelled during the Civil War and stood abandoned for nearly 20 years after the war. It was replaced in 1883 and 1886 by a fine East Lake Victorian-style house built by Charles Drayton, a member of the Drayton Hall plantation family. With money, he and his wife made the post-war phosphate industry. Although the front house was replaced, outbuildings, including a tack house and stable, remain from the earlier structures. So then off to Calhoun Street. Let's see, there it is. Calhoun Street. This image shows the building along the south side of Calhoun Street between Meeting and King Streets, which once fronted the parade grounds at Marion Square. The Citadel Cadets march past an earlier statue of John C. Calhoun, and that has since been replaced. Buildings seen here were largely demolished in the first half of the 20th century. So the John C. Calhoun scene that the John C. Calhoun statue that was at Marion Square during COVID was removed for due to racial issues. Again, it's one of those things that was a history, those who live, are those, not those of us, acting like all my listeners live in the South, but those who were raised in the South or went to school in the South, John C. Calhoun was someone that we learned about. So he had statues around town and stuff like that. The Wayman House, circa 1822, built by merchant Joseph T. Wayman. This house was known as Wayman's Folly because of its expensive construction. The house was likely designed by noted architect William J. Its design strikingly similar to another design by J at 26 Meeting Street at the southeast corner of Meeting and Charlotte Street. Wayman's Folly was demolished in 1949 and replaced by the Rivers Federal Building. Mark's Department Store, circa 1891. This imposing Richardsonian, that's quite a name, Romanesque building stood in the southeast corner of King and Calhoun. In the decades following the Civil War, department stores became a fashionable alternative to visiting numerous specialty stores. The 3-story M. Marks and Son stone store was built of granite and terracotta and had a prominent corner tower. It was demolished in 1955 to make way for modern structures. The Thomas Auditorium in 1899. 4 freestanding Corinthian columns in Cannon Park fronting Rutledge Avenue are all that remains of the Thomas Auditorium, built for a reunion of Confederate veterans. It was afterwards home to the Charleston Museum from 1907 to 1970. The structures burned in a fire shortly after the museum moved to a present home on Meeting Street. And then we're off to the Charleston Hotel. I absolutely love this place. I'm dying to stay there one night. Rooms run about anywhere from $350 to $500 and up a night. But they used to have the Southeastern Wildlife. Well, they still do, the Southeastern Wildlife Expedition. So I don't know if I have any listeners out there that are participate in that. And they do it. A lot of this stuff is at the Charleston Museum or Charleston Hotel. My mom used to move the painters. And I absolutely love the house, and I'm dying to stay there one night. It's supposed to be a haunted hotel, but the hotel itself is absolutely gorgeous. So anyways, I digress. I'm sorry. Designed by architect Charles Richardart, this Greek revival structure featured a colossal portico with Corinthian columns overlooking Meeting Street. Its demolition in 1960 for a 1-story motor lodge prompted Charlestonians to push for an expansion of the city's historic district. The site at 200 Media Street is now occupied by a modern bank building. Its oversized, minimalist columns were designed as the homage to the Charleston Museum. The Charleston Orphan House, I didn't know we had one. Circa 1790s, the campus of the Charleston Orphan House was at the northwest corner of Calhoun and St. Philip Streets, stretching back to Vanderhorst Street. A building that housed 100 orphans underwent a major renovation and enlargement in 1855, surpassed by architects Edward C. Jones and Francis D. Lee to create 130 dorm rooms and other spaces. This building was demolished in 1951 to honor of many residents to make way for a Sears and Roebuck department store. Sears sold the land to the College of Charleston in 1981. The site is now occupied by the campus bookstore, conference center, and dorms. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that. Fronting Vanderhorst Street, Orphan House Chapel was designed by Gabriel Manigault. It was torn down to make way for the Sears parking lot. The Three Sisters, circa 1840s. These three houses at the southeast corner of Calhoun and East Bay Streets provided a visible entry point into Ansboro neighborhood. So I will be talking about Ansboro soon. Like I said earlier, during the early part of the 20th century, the houses were condemned as unsafe and torn down in the early 1960s. The corner lot has remained unoccupied since then. So we're doing the Union Station. This place is pretty cool. They redid it to a different train station. This impressive building was built as the city's railroad passenger station in the intersection of East Bay and Columbus Street. It was destroyed by a fire in 1947. And then we have a different Union Station that's a lot smaller than what they had in 1907. The Timrod Hotel, circa 1883. The Timrod Hotel was located on the west side of Meeting Street, opposite Washington Park. It was torn down in the 1960s to make way for a county office park, which was demolished during the restoration of the historic Charleston County Courthouse after Hurricane Hugo, which was in 1989. The Old Guard House and Police Station, my bad, located at the southwest corner of Meeting and Broad Streets. The buildings replaced a colonial-era guardhouse and treasury building. This photo shows damage from the 1886 earthquake that resulted in the demolition. It was replaced by this current granite federal courthouse and post office building built in the 1890s. Whew, my breath. Bennett's Rice Mill, circa 1844. Only the facade remains of the Bennett Rice Mill, located on the Cooper River waterfront on land now owned by the State Ports Authority. This classically detailed brick industry building used steam power and processed rice for more than half a century, from 1845 to 1911. Although preservationists fought to save the entire building, Hurricane Donna in 1960 made the goal impossible. And I think for a while there, the Charleston County Fire Department was using that building for fire training. I don't know if they are anymore, but that was the rumor that was once told to me. So now we're up to Belvedere Plantation, circa 1800. This circa 1800 plantation house was the country seat of Colonel, that word always gets me, of Colonel Thomas Shubrick. It was located in the neck of the Upper Peninsula, well north of the city's boundaries on the Cooper River. The building was demolished in 1925 by Standard Oil Company, but much of the interior woodwork was saved by Dr. and Miss William Frampton. Some of the woodwork, including door and window surroundings and mantel, were subsequently installed in 98 Broad Street, now Fasten French Restaurant. Belvedere's entry door, with its beautiful fluted pilasters and semicircular fan light, were also installed at 98 Broad. Some of the interior elements, such as cornices, my bad, y'all, I'm sorry, wainscots, and mantels were installed at 40 Rutledge Avenue. Other pieces are in historic Charleston Foundation studied collections of architectural materials. Whew, big words. Apparently, me and big words don't get along, apparently. Go figure. So now we're off at our last home, the Radcliffe King Mansion of 1806. This beautiful federal-style house was built in 1806 by Thomas Radcliffe, the wealthy merchant whose lands were eventually developed as the suburb Radcliffeboro. Analysts of the room-by-room inventory done at the death of Radcliffe's widow, Lucretia, Lucretia, reveals an elite household on par with the Russell House at 51 Meeting Street. The house was later owned by Judge Mitchell King, then became the High School of Charleston from 1880 to 1924. The house was demolished by the College of Charleston in 1938 to make way for a new gymnasium designed by Albert Simmons. Simmons saved the interior woodwork and reused some of it as at the Dock Street Theater. I will be doing a whole story about that. I'm still trying to get in to do one of the tours. The rest is an historic Charleston Foundation study collection of architectural materials. So I'm sorry about the difficulty of the words, y'all. Bear with me. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. I'm going to do a section about the immigrants of Charleston and kind of, who all came to Charleston, what roles they played and what they did. And then I also want to do like a flower section and kind of, go through the flowers. And look at like some of our state flowers and our local flowers that we have here. So thank y'all for listening and thank y'all for tuning in. I hope y'all enjoy that. All right, well, I'll see y'all later. Have a good one. Bye, y'all.